Hey guys, welcome back to another Lord Bane video. Today we're going to be looking at, or trying to revive a series of mine called Mod Overhaul. And basically this is because I've had a lot of questions regarding how to mod Isc Gar against all the GL counters I'm putting up recently. Recently just had a few from my most successful video so far, 2.7 guys. I really appreciate it. That's great. I'm glad to see people are finally catching on to this counter. I had, let's see if I can find it. Is it Denzikan? He says, what alignment level 3 and level 6 faction bonus? And that's for datacrons, so I might go over that a little bit today as well. And he was asking if speed tenacity sets are vital, or getting the tenacity bonus from the datacrons is all I need. And then we have another guy down here, right mods, not really sure, and just another few other questions. And there's a lot of other questions alongside my other videos, and I'm gonna try and hopefully answer most of them in this video. So strap in guys, we're going to go character by character, and maybe I'll go over datacrons at the end just to see how everyone follows along with that. So we'll move over back to the game, if I can get this over, and let's have a look. So we've got, I think I'll start with Isc. I did do a short mod video in my first recording of this versus Jabba, but obviously people probably missed it a little bit. So it is very important. The whole idea that surrounds Isc and Gar is they counterattack. Now, what stops counterattacks? Daze. I think doubt is supposed to. I honestly can't remember, but I think Daze is the biggest killer for the Isc and Gar, because they need a counterattack to earn this true damage. I think it's from this ability. Yeah, this here. Deal additional true damage when they attack out of turn. So the whole concept is that we need to attack out of turn, and if we can't do that, we can't see the magic happen, basically. So the only thing that comes to the top of my head that stops out of turn attacks is the deadly bluff from Boost Slayer and Daze. So how can we mitigate being inflicted with Daze? And the only way really is to get heaps of tenacity to resist any Daze. So from maybe an AoE from General Skywalker, or I don't know, you can't resist Echo Daze, but Mara Jade's basic applies a Daze. PS AoE applies Daze. Lord Vader AoE applies Daze, but I don't think you can resist that. There's lots of Daze out there, and if we want to be able to counterattack and win the battles that I'm going against, we need to resist Daze. But basically, Isc and Gar Saxon are truly just modded for tenacity. Now, this will change a little bit depending on what counters you're trying to accomplish. So, for instance, if you're trying to get Jabba down, I suggest that you go with protection primaries to resist, or not so much resist, but mitigate the damage that's coming from thermal detonators. And I don't know if you know already, but thermal detonator damage is based off max health. So the less max health you have, the less damage you're going to receive. So make sure when you're trying to attempt this matchup that your mods are like succinct and they're in tune, because otherwise it probably won't work. I've got some pretty serious tenacity secondaries on my Mandos here, and to be honest, the more the better, but if you can't afford the massive tenacity secondaries, I would suggest 160% plus is where you want to go for. I've got them at around 186-ish, 180, just above 180% is what I've got. And I find the more you can get, the better. And I have said it before, but you really just... The whole counter relies on the fact that you don't get debuffed. So, by the days. And if as soon as you get dazed, it's pretty much over because your damage relies on being able to counterattack into these guys. So if you're going against a Jubba, you could probably change the arrow and the... So if you're having trouble surviving like Isc and Gar against thermal detonators, I would definitely suggest using protection primaries for your arrow, your triangle, and probably your circle. You obviously have to use a protection or a health for a circle, but I can afford the offense here because I have a datacron that gives me more buff, protection, and so to speak. So like I've got a really nice protection secondary here. Not everyone is going to have this. And I hope you do notice this, but these mods, some of them don't even have speed. And lots of people, and I don't blame you, would just throw speedless mods out the window, because I definitely would. But for characters like Isc and Gar, you don't really want them to take too many turns, because you're relying on them to counterattack. And if they're taking turns, they're not really counterattacking, if you know what I mean. So... But obviously, under a Thrawn lineup, they're gonna take turns, which is not a big deal because that's how you win. So speed is not a massive issue for these guys. If you want to win against a two-man for gas, you don't need speed. The less speed is actually the better because they take more turns. That means you're counter-attacking more times. So, guys, take my advice for Isc. Load as much tenacity on him as you can so he can resist those detrimental debuffs like Daze that completely shuts down any of these counters. So Daze, if you're going tenacity is what you want. If you're trying to verse Jabba, load it up with protection. If you're going against anything else, offense is usually the way to go. Versing SLKR, I would suggest a crit avoidance arrow. They do have advantage, so it's only going to help you when they don't, which is very rarely, but if you can kill SLKR before his first ult, that's all you really need is them to miss one crit. So, and that's pretty much Isc. Tenacity, protection is the way to go. Offense as well is quite nice. We'll head over to Gus Saxon. He is a tank, so he's a lot beefier than what Isc is. So you won't really have to focus on getting his protection too high, but obviously we've got a kind of a 50-50 split here. So if I could load more protection on him, I probably should. I still got my crit avoidance here from my SLKR counter, but it's got a massive tenacity secondary here. So Gar is really similar to Isc because you're relying on him to counterattack with Isc as well. You want him to have as much tenacity as you can. Lovely 12% here. Again, you don't need to focus on speed for these guys. Another mod, speedless mod here. And yeah, if you can't get the speed on the secondaries, doesn't matter. All you really need is tenacity. Tenacity and any sort of protection boosts are great. I would suggest if you're going against Jabba, try and move away from this health percent, but I haven't had any trouble with these at all. Again, 180% plus I've got on him. You want to just get as much tenacity on these guys as you can because you want to be able to counterattack. You want to be able to deal that true damage because that's how we win. Basically, for all these characters I'm going through, their modding really just depends in this team. Anything outside of this team, their modding will change. For instance, Piet probably has like a crit damage triangle here or an offense triangle, and he would definitely have the speed here. But maybe instead of a tenacity, he'd probably have a potency here. But for this team, you really want them to resist the daze, because Piet has a great chance to counterattack as well. So you can stuff him full of tenacity as well. He's not as high as what I have my Isc and Gar, which is fine, but obviously more the better. And same drill. You just want him to be fast. He's probably probably one of the most important characters for this team. Being fast and able to resist daze as well is fantastic for him. I would almost say you could go with a potency here to make sure you lock in those dazes with his AoE. Because getting the daze on Boosh Leia, especially against the Jabba battle, is critical. So she doesn't keep continuously loading us up with debuffs. But you could say you could mitigate this with a good datacron, which is probably what I do. If I get a good potency roll on my datacron, I can afford the extra tenacity on Piet here. Again, stay with protection. Don't do health. It will kill you. If you could get a good speed secondary here and have a protection here, that would help your Piet stay alive. Because being a support character, he's not the thickest character out there, but obviously he's quite chunky. He will take a few hits for you, but yeah, he will be kind of on the light side, because we don't have a tank in this team. It's literally a glass cannon with heaps of durability, unless you go with the short trooper lineup, which is definitely fine. I do sometimes. The Moff Gideon one though does give you that edge. Moff Gideon, the trend keeps going. You just load him up with heaps of tenacity and heaps of protection, because you want him to resist the daze, you want him to resist the debuffs, yada yada yada. You get the idea. As much protection as you can. Moff Gideon is another one you want pretty fast. Generally, you want him fast anyway. I would say this is probably a decent build for him. Maybe under Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, maybe you could build him for offense. I don't know. But for this counter, guys, load them up with tenacity, load them up with speed. And what all kind of links this together is Grand Admiral Thrawn's lead. I've been waiting to use Thrawn as a Empire lead for ages. He's kind of fallen off the meta, but now I'm trying to bring him back. And if you build this team right, you can do some serious damage. What's great that we build all our characters for tenacity as well. When we resist a detrimental effect or suffer a debuff, we're gaining 20% turn meter. So this is how we're able to keep up with most Galactic Legend teams. It's a little bit harder with JMK, but that's why we switched to a Gar Saxon lead, where we don't rely on turn meter. But for instance, I did post that video of JML, and when you see JML do his Flux ability, all those debuffs, all that breach, all those ability blocks he tries to land on us, just woof, we get all that turn meter, and we skip ahead against the team. We're able to get some plays out, which is great. And it's a similar thing against Jabba. All those thermal detonators, all that speed down, all that blind. We are just juicing our turn meter, and we're able to get our plays going. Critical. It's a critical leadership. I don't know what I could do without it. Thrawn is probably another character that's susceptible to dying very quickly, because he doesn't have much bulk at all. He is another support character. So you load him up as much as you can with protection, but you have to get his tenacity on point as well. Having said that, when you have someone fractured, he does get an extra 100% tenacity. So effectively, if someone's fractured, he's over 200% tenacity, which is more than plenty to resist debuffs. So mods for him: speed. If you have a good speed secondary here, put a protection primary. If you've got any more tenacity on this one, definitely you've put it on, but protection is the way to go. You could justify having a protection here and have a good secondary for tenacity. I definitely would go ahead for that. More protection. You need him to survive, but you can win without him. Now, I think that's... Hopefully you get a gist of it, of the team for modding. Tenacity and protection is basically what you want. The only 3 characters that you need to worry for speed is Piet, Thrawn, and Gideon. There's not really a turn order because it really relies on where the debuffs go at the end of the day, who gets the most turn meter. So, but you don't want to obviously be too slow. You do want to be able to take turns. And in overall, the general game, Piet, Moff Gideon, and Thrawn should be pretty fast characters. So don't slack on them. The only characters I'm letting you slack on is Gar and Isc for speed. Just juice them up with tenacity and protection. Let's have a quick look at what datacrons I like to use. I know not many people love them, but honestly, guys, they're going to be here forever. They're not too hard to farm. The rerolls suck, but honestly, the stats is what actually helps these counters. Basically, it's the stats that get you these wins. Like, everyone complains about deflection. Everyone complains about defense. Everyone complains about any massive stat that gives an outrageous percentage of... it's stupid how much percent you can get from datacrons. Like, people were getting like 400% defense last season. It's just... it's disgusting. But we can take this to our advantage if we want to make sure a off-meta counter works consistently. So, and we can slack in our mods if we use datacrons as well. So maybe you don't have good tenacity on Isc and Gar, that you just don't quite meet that 160% threshold. Chuck on a datacron and you're able to get past it. I even chuck datacrons on the team I have now just to make sure, because especially in Territory Wars when your guild is anal about getting the one-shots, I don't want to stuff it up. So I just chuck one on to make sure we get the job done. So, especially with this Unwavering Courage datacron set, it's literally the perfect stats. You roll tenacity, you roll potency. Like, what more could you want? For this team, basically, these are the most important things. Doubt, if you can get the doubt level 3s, I know they are hard to roll. They are the best for this team because doubt prevents them from gaining turn meter, the enemy, and protection recovery. Which is, if you want the battle to go quick and smooth, doubt is the way to go. But obviously, if you can't roll the doubt, the health and protection recovery is nice. I can't quite remember. Is it Dispel as well? No, Dark Side. The 2% max health damage isn't really big for this team because we don't inflict many debuffs. The Dispel is garbage, don't worry about it. Critical Chance is garbage, don't worry about it. The two basically ones that you want is the 2% health and protection. The Doubt are the best ones for this. Level 6, obviously you want Empire because this team is Empire. Whenever an enemy loses turn meter, allies gain protection up. Whenever the ally loses protection up, they gain turn meter. This is just a whole lot of words, and we don't need it because we gain so much turn meter, it doesn't really matter. The defense pen and the offense up are nice because that connects with Thrawn lead quite nicely. Whenever we gain a buff, we're recovering health and protection. It's nice. It's more damage. I wouldn't say it's the best thing in the world, but it's there. It's good for Imperial Troopers because more buffs mean more turn meter. The offense, I did try this a few times, and to be honest, I can't really notice the 400%. I do notice, though, the 50% defense cut because we die really quickly. Wouldn't recommend it, to be honest, because you really need that. It's surprising what 50% defense is actually doing for you. The one I tend to go with is this one here. Whenever an Empire ally target another ally during their turn, they both gain 5% defense, max health, max protection, offense, stacking to the end of the battle. So we have Piet's mark ability that we mark Isc, and Isc and Piet are constantly building their protection and offense, which helps incredibly to get through the battle quite quickly. Thrawn also has the turn meter swap, which once again is juicing up our survivability and offense. Very important and very useful. In the circumstance that you do have this and you want to take advantage of this, I would recommend you mark IC down more consistently. Every time you get the chance to, do it, unless you really need a day's AoE or a quick kill with the basic. Level 9s, we're not even going to bother. We don't need it. The stats and maybe these two are probably the most important to get. But as you have seen in my non-datacron video, you don't need datacrons to beat the level 9 jubbers, the boost datacron ones. But you probably do need one against the damage immunity level 6s. It is quite hard to do it without it. But guys, really, this team, if you mod them right, if you invest into them, modding, gear, relics, they are definitely some of the most fun I've had in this game in a long time. Is this team here? Very, very cool. I don't really know what more to say. This video hopefully helps those out there who are looking for a mod, for a datacron kind of guide on this team. If you have any more questions, dump them in the comments. I always reply to the ones who ask. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. Hopefully you have a good rest of your weekend or start of your Friday, wherever you are. And I appreciate the support, guys. And like and subscribe if you'd like to see any more of this crazy content that we're about to put up. So hopefully I can beat Ray in a few more tries, and I'll put a video out for that. But so far, I think we're at 4 out of 4 Galactic Legends killed so far. Let's keep that train going, guys. So, alright, I'm going to end it there, and I'll see you all later on.